Welcome, listeners, to today's episode of the Black Business Roundtable. I'm fired up and ready to talk. I am your host, Doug Blacksher, broadcasting to you live from the City of Diversity, Oakland, California. I am excited as always to share this podcast platform with with our ride or die, our very own Dr. Ashley Coleman, Doctor of Psychology, and our mental health for the soul professional. Welcome, Dr. Ashley, girl. When I see you,
It's a pleasure. Always good to see you as well.
as always, thank you, Donnie Glover of the Black USA News for the honor of the Black Business Roundtable being a part of your growing network dedicated to bringing the real, unfiltered news to Black America. We truly need her today and we need her being Dr. Ashley with the recent story regarding the Alameda County Sheriff psychological exam scores and the removal of deputies from duty. Did you hear anything about that, Dr. Ashley?
I did.
Dr. Ashley, I hope you can help our audience later in the show understand the important role of the psychological exam and how they play in certain fields of employment, especially when we want to give somebody a gun and they're supposed to be protecting and serving, but they're not mentally. And let's go back to my mental thing. Audience, just like you'd have a broken leg, you'd go see a doctor, a medical doctor. Just like you'd have a cavity, you'd go see a dentist. When you have a splinter in your brain, when you have issues that are causing depression, anxiety, and just a lack of energy, not physically, but mentally, please go see a doctor of psychology. And we have our very own here on the Black Business Roundtable. Also, yet another shooting of 6 adults in Oakland at local campus that housed 3 schools. Dr. Ashley, what is going on?
It hits home too. One of those schools being a former place of employment of my dear mother, and so my emotions. I'm sure I'll be spirited. I know last week you were too about the shootings in downtown Oakland in front of City Hall, and similarly, my heart is filled with many emotions about what's happening in our beloved city.
Well, I graduated from King High School, King Junior High School, and when I saw that in the news, it just gave me chills. Just 7 days ago, I drove by and there was a burnt up, abandoned car with all the tires off just down the street and you're familiar with Oakland, Fontaine and Keller.
Right there, right.
And then, and I posted it on Facebook how the leaders of this city are just letting this city look like a third world country. And I'm not going to mention her name because I don't want to give her that positive pub or negative pub or any pub, because the city of Oakland is in dire needs right now. And so to get back on script, briefly, I had a conversation with a colleague from the Black USA News Network who was having, and we discussed it briefly before the show came on, they're having the same issues on the East Coast with elected politicians running to neighborhoods, churches, homes, community centers, getting the vote, and then you don't see them for 4 years. So give you a heads up, we're going to start collaborating with the East Coast, West Coast. It's not going to be Biggie, Tupac, though. It's going to be love, vote, get out the vote. We're going to do an East Coast, West Coast unity and make sure that we push the people on the East Coast called West Coast and vice versa. But to that end, let me get back on script. We don't want that lady behind the scene to be all over me. Today, September 29th, 2022, as noted from the National Day Calendar. Their website is nationaldaycalendar.com. World Heart Day. Heart disease is the leading cause of death in the world. More than 90 countries participate in the World Heart Day, and their hashtag is World Heart Day. World Maritime Day, shipping safety, maritime security, and marine environment. And audience of those of you know, Trent Willis, immediate past president of the ILWU, he would probably, and I'm sure he's going to have some great things to say about that today. Their hashtag is World Maritime Day, National Coffee Day. 4 components of the perfect cup of coffee. Girl, I get my day started with a good cup.
I do too.
Aroma, body, acidity, and the flavor. How do you like your coffee? Hashtag National Coffee Day. National Veterans of Foreign Wars. VFW Day honors men and women devoted to this organization and those who have served our nation. Hashtag National VFW Day. And audience, give you a preview. On Veterans Day, we have a special show for you coming up with a great host who was a Marine protecting this country. Going to talk about some great things that the veterans are doing out there in November on Veterans Day. National Fall Foliage Week began last Sunday of September. A great time to stretch your legs and enjoy a walk in the tree areas of your part of the country and seeing the changing foliage colors of fall come to life. We want to remind our audience again this week, it is Hispanic Heritage Month. And thank you again to nationaldaycalendar.com. Please check them out for weekly updates. I want to reflect back about a minute or two. 2 weeks ago, I had the opportunity to speak at the Black Business Expo Olympics with the founder, had invited me back, Dr. Eric Kelly III, who recently won an award from the President of the United States for, he got a Lifetime Achievement Award. And let me be clear, audience. My premises, my theme was we must get involved, Black people. Vote, vote, vote. A politician has their hand on hundreds of millions of dollars, not just from the federal government, from the state government, but that directly affects your counties and your cities and your communities and your neighborhood. And if you don't vote the right politician in, let me give you an example briefly what happened. I had to go to bat for a Black woman-owned engineering company who a supervisor staff member was holding her money hostage for whatever reason. But these are the time of shenanigans and tactics that we need to vote their butts out of office. And I am leading a charge, not here in Oakland, in Alameda County, but in the state of California. And now, since my sister Quita, who has a show on the blackusa.news, we're going to work together because she's going to start naming names of politicians, and so will I. It's nothing like being a tattletale, Dr. Ashley. Slap my hand, but I'm still going to tell. Okay, some current events in the news today. Folks, I don't know if you've been checking it out. Hurricane Ian pummeled Florida, and the mass exodus beforehand of 2 million fellow Americans surely save lives. Can you believe that?
It's so sad, incredibly sad.
Briefly, Dr. Ashley, what can be the psychological effect of those people running from, and they showed one house on the news today where the only thing that was there was the foundation and the house was like in splinters. What's the psychological effect to somebody just losing everything in the blink of an eye?
It can be incredibly traumatic. You spend your entire life, many of us, aspiring to have security of home. That's a Maslow hierarchy of need, a basic need. And so to have the threat of loss of housing, um, irreplaceable memorables of family, heirlooms, pictures, whatnot, but then also trying to escape with one's life. And there were many social media posts about people saying, I'm trapped in the attic, my battery's on 15%, here's my address. Please, if you can, come rescue. And so I saw many posts. And it's interesting the change since Hurricane Katrina in 2005. But I'll just say this, that now with social media, people were posting their addresses asking for even public intervention. So it's incredibly traumatic and also hard for us to witness and maybe even feel helpless when we see people struggling like that.
And before we leave the show today, I'm going to ask Dr. Ashley to be sure to give a national number for those folks who listen to our show on the East Coast to call. And once again, if you have a broken leg, you'd go see a doctor, a toothache, you'd go see a dentist. When you've been devastated, and this is black, white, or other, when you're being devastated by something horrific like this hurricane, get the mental health that will help you get through it and you won't have anxiety attack, depression, and suicide thoughts. Thank you, Dr. Ashley.
Thank you, Doug, for your advocacy.
The September 28th, January 26th committee hearings due to the hurricane Ian were postponed. Watch your local news station for rescheduling #January 6th committee. Governor Newsom has on his desk 550 plus bills needing his signature or veto by midnight, September 30th, Friday, and that's tomorrow. However, this one is specific to African Americans dealing with the reparation task. Now, I'm going to just say something briefly. Every race, group of people in America, Chinese, the Jewish people, and other races and religions get some kind of financial help to recreate the economics in their community. So I have to commend, and sometimes I'm not nice to Governor Gavin Newsom, but I'm gonna have to commend him on this one. I hope he signs that bill, because if you look at the generational wealth of 400 years that African Americans have lost, we would own America, which includes an extension until July 1st, 2024. Click on the links listed in the show description for the Cal Meters organization and see the article, and also the link to a 500-page report on the state's history of slavery and racism. Can you imagine that? Getting, many people who are on welfare right now, being able to get a jump start with businesses and education, etc. Unbelievable. My political endorsements for November 8th election here in Oakland and Alameda County. I have not changed one iota. And we're going to have a fine young man today that I can't wait to introduce. But my political endorsements, which is Pamela Price for candidate, Alameda County District Attorney, super dynamic civil rights lawyer, foster care and juvenile justice survivor, elected member to the Alameda County Democratic Central Committee. And I got to say something about that. The Alameda County Democratic Central Committee, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. You ought to be ashamed of yourself. Yes, and I'm not going to say the chair, the vice chair, I'm going to say the committee in its entirety. You are running a sham, and you are letting high-ranking officials in this state, two people particular, run this organization. This is not an organization run by anarchy. This is an organization that's run by people who who come together in a democracy and vote. And you ought to be shaming yourself. And if you don't fix it, as I progress moving forward in this show and coming weeks and months to come, I will be naming you. Pamela Price should have gotten the endorsement of the Alameda County Democratic Central Committee, but it was a coup not to support her based on politics and politics. And I'm going to start naming names. So you better get your act together. And you know who I'm talking to. And you know you're watching the show today. Dr. Ashley. That, we want our young people to get involved. But when they see shenanigans and our people getting bamboozled by people who are too old or bought off, it's no more politics as usual. Alameda County Democratic Club, get your act together, or I will name who you are and what you're doing legally and illegally. Alisa Victory, community organizer, civil rights and labor attorney, AD 18, ADM delegate, people powered, corporate free campaign. Her website is victoryforoakland.com. And my most recent endorsement of Shang Tao, Oakland City Council President Pro Tem, running for Oakland Mayor because Oakland, our time is now. Her website is Shang4, and that's FOR, Oakland.com/donate. And briefly on Shang Tao, the city of Oakland, about 5 months ago, we're going to give, now let me throw some numbers in there so you get a little background. The city of Oakland spends $500 million, $500 million on government contracts. 0.32% of that $500 million go to Black businesses. In dollar figures, that's $1.4 million for all for Black businesses in Oakland, and 86 cents out of every dollar goes to white men-owned business. But getting back to Shang Tao, when I found out that the city of Oakland was going to hand deliver a $5.5 million contract to a white woman-owned company with two employees, I made a call, and Shang Tao was one of them. Rebecca Kaplan, who's running for supervisor, was another of them, and they stopped it. But it's time that we stop giving our economic power away to people unfairly and not being equal in distributing those hundreds of millions of dollars to Black businesses. And we wonder why we have so many Black people living under the bridge. 70% of homelessness in Oakland is Black people. And 60% of that number are elderly people. Shame, shame, shame on you, Oakland. God, gonna make me drink some water. I'm getting all excited here today. Okay, we have Janani Ramachandran. Janani, I know she said, Doug, don't even worry about it, but I'm going to say it correctly. Janani Ramachandran, political candidate for Oakland City Council District 4 and social justice attorney. Her website, mobilize.usa/Janani4, and that's FOR, Oakland City Council D4/event/510362. And you can see that on our webpage. Barack D. I love saying this man's name. Barack D. Obama Shaw, The mayoral candidate for the city of Alameda here in California, who is running and with your help and support, the first elected African-American man as mayor of Alameda. There was a previous woman of color elected mayor in Alameda, Maria Gilmore, December 21st, 2010 to December 2014. But the previous black man was a mayor that was acting after the current acting mayor due to death in that would be September 17, 2002 to December 17th. So September 17th, 2002 to December 17th, 2002, he died. And the sitting mayor was Mayor Ralph Apuzzato. He passed away, and there was a black vice mayor who took his position. He was not an elected mayor. He took the position that the mayor had passed away. I wanted to get that cleared up because I think we said he was he was the first black mayor, but Barack Obama would be the first elected male black mayor. See him being Barack Obama on his Instagram at Barack Denzel, hashtag Barack Denzel, or Facebook Barack Denzel. Check out his update website, pricelesspolitics.com. If you would like to volunteer or work on any of these campaigns, reach out to their campaign websites today. Now, this week's Black Business Roundtable, thumbs up goes to nation's first Black-owned pool club, Niles Swim Club. No child will drown in our town. Ooh, that has a sing to it. They're gonna make a song out of that. No child shall drown in our town. Acronym NCWDOT. According to a study completed by U.S. Swimming Foundation, 64% of African American children cannot swim, and Black children are 5.5 times more likely to drown than other racial groups. I can tell you why, because in Black communities, they don't put swimming pools. They don't have the money to do anything in Black community. But in Oakland, you go up in Montclair, there's a swimming pool almost on every other block. But that's just me thinking out loud, Dr. Ashley. I wonder why. We have to call up Mayor Libby Schaaf and ask her why they're closing down pools. For instance, Castlemont has a swimming pool, Fremont had one, and there were some other ones, but they couldn't find the money to keep them open. But they find the money to keep the ones open in Montclair and the affluent white neighborhoods. Moving on. I love pointing those facts out, Dr. Ashley. Moving on. These daunting statistics were the driving force behind the Nile Swim Club establishing a No Child Will Drown in Our Town program. A BBRT team member saw a story on the organization, and we hope you will check them out and donate to this child safety cause. We have extended an invitation to appear on Black Business Roundtable. This week, thumbs down goes to to the governor appointed State Attorney General Rob Bonta and his wife, whom stated she is Black due to the fact they are using Trump type tactics against those that oppose them. Also, Lobby Libby, whom over the course of 8 years, homelessness has doubled in the city of Oakland. Look at whom she is backing in the upcoming election, and you'll be amazed who she's backing to carry on this reign of terror in Oakland, California. Instead of creating legislation to protect our Black businesses, modeling after places such as Los Angeles, California, Chicago, Illinois, Miami, Florida, and San Diego, we have people taking away our small businesses. Shame, shame, shame on you. Girl, I'm way behind on time. I
No,
should.
I was going to say, yeah, we can maybe skip it because our guests will be coming shortly. So maybe
Why
we
don't
can.
I? Because I got excited today. I've been a little bit under the weather today, so I'm going to turn this show over to you,
Okay.
and I'm going to introduce him briefly, and I want you to take over because Oakland. When I saw that killing or the shooting at the school in the last 7 8 days, all these killings, businesses going under, Oakland is just is dying right in front of my eyes. If you were here, I think you would share the same passion.
No, I do, Doug. I do. And so I want to jump in because I want to validate that. And then we'll save time for introducing our guests. But I agree with you that there are definitely some alarming things happening in our hometown. And it's completely understandable that as part of the precipitant to doing something and to activism is the frustration. And so, greetings, listeners. It's Dr. Ashley. I want to segue again into our highlight of today. As far as news from September 29th, 1915. This is new news for me, but not surprising given some of the things that are happening in healthcare currently. As always, we want to acknowledge Equal Justice Initiative, who produces a daily calendar of events that are important for us to remember, to look back, and learn lessons so that we can be ready for what's presently before us. And this calendar can be reached by visiting their website, calendar.eji.org. So the tagline, September 29th, 1915, Alabama bars treatment of Black men by white nurses. And so, again, the Alabama legislator passed a law forbidding, quote, white female nurses from working, quote, in wards or rooms in hospitals, either public or private, in which Negro men are placed for treatment or to be nursed. And we understand the impact of Jim Crow, racial segregation laws enacted in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, how after Civil War and Reconstruction, Black people, even though they were declared to be citizens with civil rights, that wasn't the lived experience. And that what that led to was discrimination in various areas, including, here we go, having laws that forbid Black and white people from playing checkers or swimming together, or entering a circus through the same entrance, or being buried in the same cemetery. And so with regard to healthcare, and just thinking of the impact of this, in the state of Georgia in 1931, so we talked about Alabama, and I'm switching to the state of Georgia, 2 Black women were injured in a car accident, and they died from their injuries after the local hospital refused them care due to their race. And it's completely discriminatory. For those of us in healthcare, we take various oaths to uphold the ethics and laws and to do no harm to the people entrusted to us. And even more, to go a step further than doing no harm, is beneficence, to do well to people. So those of us in healthcare, we're supposed to subscribe to that, but we also understand that the lived experience can be different. And so also want to make a plug that if you are in a medical situation, please bring an advocate with you. And if you haven't done so already, consider who is your power of attorney for healthcare decisions. So as always, thank you to the Equal Justice Initiative for that time in history. So, wow, Doug alluded to some feelings last week about Oakland and its state, and he mentioned in his early reflections about the school shooting. I first, before we touch on that, I want to talk about an article that I saw in the news, and I'm sure many of you did, which talked about the employment of several sheriffs in Alameda County, and that there have been many individuals who failed their psychological exams and then were relieved of their duties. And some of these exam results were dating back to 2016. And so I want to talk a little bit about psychological assessment. I'll keep it brief, but for some roles and responsibility, there's an assessment of fitness for duty. And there are many ways that that is assessed and the determination is made. And so I am not specifically familiar with the battery, which is, again, the combination of psychological tests or physical fitness tests that are used to assess someone's fitness to be a sheriff. So I want to disclaim that, but I do want to share, based on my expertise, some information. And so part of the fitness for duty test always includes also personality assessment, but which can be anything from the Rorschach ink blot test, which is what we call a test where someone projects their internal experience and how they visualize or see things or interpret things onto ink blots. There can be the MMPI 1, 2, or now we're at 3, which is the Minnesota Multiphasic Personality Inventory, which was developed in the 1920s and then has a variety of personality scales looking at neuroticism, depression, introversion, the types of ways that people think. So that's another personality test. And then there's the TAT that's often used. It's the thematic apperception test. So again, someone is projecting their internal experience onto the test. And why we use personality assessments is we're looking at someone's insight into things, their perception of how they assess things, problem solving, in addition to judgment. And so, again, thinking of the role of sheriff and what the responsibilities are going to be, and we understand many times, also this involves intelligence testing typically. And one of the tests that may be used in the situation, not sure, is the Wexler Test. That test looks at working memory, processing speed, again, reasoning, verbal and nonverbal reasoning. And the whole point, again, is to figure out how someone interprets their environment. How do they take that in to inform their decisions, matching that with their training, and at sometimes making split decisions. And I'm not particularly familiar with what would be the exclusion criteria. So what would be those things that can make someone who's assessing someone's fitness for duty particularly be concerned? But we could maybe think of impulsivity, maybe a history of personal violence, potentially a history of substance abuse, current, and any type of pattern demonstrating that someone has, in their best effort, made good decisions with information. If there's an area of needing improvement, that being worked on either through counseling or other ways, and a demonstration of that. And so I was just someone that does conduct personality assessment, but again, I was shocked that there were some results that have been sitting since 2016, and I was just curious. I would have loved to learn more about what, particularly, what were the decisions made? Were these individuals that would probably be private information referred for counseling, or what type of opportunities did they have a behavioral plan to demonstrate that they were working on these areas?
You know, my understanding, 10% of the sheriff's department, Alameda County Sheriff Department, 10% of the gun carrying deputy sheriffs were stripped of their weapons. And that's scary. We just recently, about 3, maybe 4 weeks ago, we had a sheriff have an affair with the woman and went into her home and killed not only her, but her husband. This is frightening, very, very frightening. So once again, Dr. Ashley, thank you for pulling me out, as you always do. Audience, we have a few minutes before our special guest come on, and I'm going to briefly introduce him now. I've gotten taken, once again, a little bit off course today, but I've lived in Oakland for 59 years. And to see Oakland in the state that it is now. It's I didn't go to bed until 6 this morning, just scratching my head saying, what more can I do? What more can I
Doug,
do?
yeah, I just want to say, because we do have a couple more minutes and some announcements I have to make, but I think, Doug, you challenged us to look at leadership, and I think that's really important. But something that stuck with me last week, based on what Barack the Obama Shaw said, but also my own lived experience, this isn't new. 20 years ago, I left Oakland as a teenager on embarking on my career of college and exploring my dreams. But what I want to let you know is that as an alumni, class of '02, we're having our reunion this weekend, of Skyline, we had a school shooting that led to us only having a homecoming dance. We had no other events outside of sporting events, all the way to May, where we had senior ball. So every weekend, my friends and I, who had, we had jobs at the local pizza place, and I was at a local video place. We had movie nights every weekend at different people's houses because there was no outlet for us. This is a repeated nature where one of the things that's happening, Doug, that we all need to look in the mirror and ask ourselves are, the family has fallen apart in Oakland. These individuals that are committing shootings are living with some type of relative who I'm sure they've terrorized and they're afraid of. We need leadership, but we need accountability. We need mental health. We need opportunities, as you always highlight. But this is a systemic issue that I'm saddened about because as of yesterday, and thinking about coming back to Oakland, which I love to visit or whatnot, I'm now still thinking about the violence in the city and how 20 years ago, and when I've come back and visit, it's a beautiful city with not enough activity for Black and brown people. And I just wanted to share that because I too echo your frustration. And we know that the solutions are not going to be easy, these are going to be complex, but we also have to look at what's happening in the homes. Where's the trauma in the homes, the unmet needs in the homes? Where have we lost community? Because we are terrorizing one another. And that is devastating. And I just want to also, one of the things I'm going to be asking our guests later, impromptu, is where are the opportunities for trauma narratives? We talk about PTSD coming from combat veterans, but surviving Oakland involves surviving trauma, which means, Doug, I don't sit with my back to the door wherever I am.
You know, and I see our guest is backstage. I just want to say this. What's going on, Dr. Ashley? And if you know, I give you all the credit in the world because you are younger than me, you're well educated, and we have a lot of old people who are sitting in these positions who have these old ideas. And on that note, I'd like to welcome.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to say that it's an honor, and that's the main reason I came on today, in light of me not feeling good, because this young man who's running for city council in district number 6 is dynamic, awesome. And can you read his bio if you have? Do we have his bio on hand, Dr. Ash? Because I wanted our audience, and let me just say this, audience. This show not only airs here in Oakland, California, and Alameda County, and the state of California, and nationally, but in several countries. We are the #1 show on BlackUSA.News podcast network. Introduce this man who I see as being the next governor and running for the next president of the United States. Introduce my man. Thank you, Dr. Ashley.
No problem. So Kevin Jenkins is a native Oaklander, housing justice champion, and community leader with a progressive track record of getting things done. He was born and raised in East Oakland as the son of 2 Oakland Unified School District employees. He graduated from Oakland High School and attended Laney College and College of Alameda. And that's, of course, part of the Peralta Community College District, where Kevin now serves, to help shape his career path and enter public service. Kevin then transferred to San Francisco State University, where he earned a Bachelor of Arts in Urban Studies and Planning. And after graduating from San Francisco State, he worked for Supervisor Keith Carson at the Alameda County Board of Supervisors, where he focused on land use and planning, energy, technology, and youth-enhanced program development. While working full-time and raising his son Elijah, Kevin attended California State University East Bay, earning a master's degree in public administration. So, wow. Hi, Kevin. Welcome to the show. Uh-oh.
That took me off.
Okay.
Dr. Ashley, nice to meet you. Thanks so much for the warm welcome. Doug, nice to see you. Glad that you came to the show, even though you're not feeling well. Glad that you're braving it. Thank you guys for having me so much.
I'm going to let Dr. Ashley pretty much take over because I've been fighting a little bit of bug. I didn't go to bed till late this morning, but I wanted our audience to see how young people are stepping up and showing out, and you are doing so politically. I hear about a lot of the great things that you're doing here in Oakland. Dr. Ashley, please fire off a few questions, and I'm going to just sit back and, hey, I'm going to let the old guy learn from the young folk. I'm going to put myself on mute.
No, thank you, Doug. And, thank you for pushing through. And Kevin, we're again excited to have you here. So I'll first start off. Can you tell us a little bit about Peralta Community College, again, for our podcast audience members who are a little unfamiliar with this educational establishment?
Absolutely. Peralta Community College is a 4-college district where we serve 30,000 students. And so we have a college of Alameda, and that's in Alameda, California. Merritt College is in the Oakland Hills. Laney College, which is in Oakland. And we have Berkeley City College. And so we're in charge of advancing the educational opportunities for folks of all ages, anybody who is a learner. And that's us, Peralta Community College.
Great. And, I read your bio and I noticed that you, again, are the son of 2 OUSD employees, same for me, one. And so can you tell me a little bit of the influence that had on your career?
Absolutely. From a young age, my mom had me tutoring her students. So it always showed me that there was a need to give back. My mom worked in the inner city of East Oakland back when Lockwood was Lockwood.
Okay.
And so that school was impoverished. It was a world that my sister and I did not know, right? That, wait a minute, if you ask for a tour, you don't necessarily get it, right? There's people that go without meals. So it showed me a different side and it really gave me humanity. And so I think my desire to give back to the community and my desire to serve came from those formative years when my mom was working at Lockwood.
I can definitely relate, having had a parent that worked at Frick and then different schools there. So absolutely. So again, Peralta Community College, you talked about some of the institutions that comprise that umbrella. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the values that inform the education there? So like trust or other?
Yeah, so we're really big on advancing equity at Peralta Community College. Sometimes we don't do the best jobs, and sometimes it's a fight that as a board member I have to have with other board members. So I became the president of the California Association of Black School Educators. And so in that role, we're unapologetic about fighting for Black kids up and down the state, K through 14, unapologetic about it. And so we have different conferences where we have the best speakers from around the world coming in. Dr. Marks comes in and has implicit bias trainings. And so a board member of mine, and I don't mind saying it, asked leadership, why is he going to that conference? It's just for Black students. And so this is the type of fight, even though we want to advance equity, this is the type of fights that I have to have with my own board members and explaining myself on why I'm unapologetic about being for Black students. But if you look at indicators from across the state and here in Oakland and here in our Proud to Service district, we're losing Black people like crazy. We are losing Black people like crazy. So we have to give people an opportunity at Proud to change their tax bracket. It's the only place you can go in 2 years and really change your tax bracket. So I'm an unapologetic fighter for equity and Black students.
Let me ask you a piggyback question on that, because I imagine, what is that like for you as a Black man to have a seat at this table where you're unapologetically and fighting for, advocating for Black learners, and while simultaneously hearing a colleague question the need for this specialized attention?
So Dr. Ashley, it shows us how much more we have to go, right? I mean, a lot of people thought Barack becoming president was going to solve things, and then 8 years later, we got a special surprise. And so we think the Bay Area is really progressive and Oakland's really progressive, but right in our backyard, we have people that still need education. And so I find it as an opportunity to educate those that are willing to be educated. And for those that aren't willing to be educated on why it's important, we'll shut you down. We're still going to accomplish our mission of uplifting Black students.
I can tell you're from Oakland. I didn't even have to read that, because the activism and the commitment into that. So Kevin, tell us a little bit more. So you served as like a commissioner for the Alameda County Public Health Commission for over 3 years. Can you tell us a little bit about your role and accomplishments during your time?
Yeah, thanks for that, Dr. Ashley. I was appointed by Supervisor Nate Miley to serve on the Public Health Commission. Public Health Commission is a great body of community folks that come together to advise the Public Health Department. And for those of you that don't know, the Public Health Department almost reaches into everything, because everything is regarding health. And so some of the things that we were able to do is keep that body diverse so that we have the opinions of people that represent the community. And that doesn't mean race or color. That means, and not just gender, like making sure that we have elders on there, making sure that we have young folks on there, making sure that we have people with disabilities on that board, so that we can properly inform the Public Health Department about what programs, how to spend their budget, and those type of things. And then the time on the Public Health Commission was really formative during the early days of the pandemic, when we didn't know what was going on, when the public needed information, and we were those stewards to get that information out. And we were a sounding board for the Public Health Department. And so that collaboration and those accomplishments are what came out of those 3.5, 4 years.
Wonderful, wonderful. And so again, kind of along that vein about different roles, presently, you are the Director of Housing for an anti-poverty organization. Tell us a little bit more about your present role and like day-to-day objectives of this position.
Yeah, so here in the Bay Area, housing and homelessness is the greatest challenge that we have of this decade, and probably moving forward for the next couple of decades. How do we get folks housed? How do we prevent folks from falling into the cycle of homelessness? And that's one of the big challenges, right? If we're going to pull folks up out of homelessness, how do we prevent other folks from falling into homelessness? And so we're about advancing housing justice and really being in tune with dismantling past racist housing policies that have robbed wealth from mostly Black folks, have discriminated against Black folks, have had our education systems all underfunded, And so we want to dismantle those past practices, those policies. And so day to day, so this year we gave out $1 million worth of grants to organizations that are advancing housing justice, right? And so for me specifically, it was important that we're giving money to Black and Brown led organizations that have an ear to what's going on in the community. We're also advocating with local and state representatives about changing policies, about advancing policies. And so that's a day-to-day look at what we do.
And before we take a break, and I have an announcement about resources, I think is apropos to do that then, and also acknowledge, our network. Doug, go ahead.
Kevin, once again, you're so valuable. Sickness couldn't keep me away from this. But I have to ask you one question because been a little lightheaded, but I want to say this to our audience. Last week, you had a coming out campaign party, and you had some of the most powerful people, not in the city of Oakland, not in the county of Alameda, not in the state of California, but across the nation. You had Honorable Mayor Elihu Harris endorsing you. You had civil rights attorney John Burris campaigning for you. You had Robert L. Harris, civil rights vice president of PG&E, out there campaigning for you, and a host of many others. How did you woo those power players on your team? Because I've never seen them supporting a young Black man like they, and I was there. I got there a little bit late, but I saw those powerhouses just advocating for you like you are the next come to Jesus person. So tell our audience how you were able to woo those powerhouses to listening to this young brother, because we don't have many artists, and I want you to keep in mind, we don't have many, and we have them out there, but they're not stepping up and stepping out like Kevin. Go ahead, Kevin. Let them have it.
I paid them. No, that'd be illegal. But I've done work in the community, and that work has allowed me to interact with these folks. I always like to say about Mr. Harris. I went to school with Mr. Harris's daughter, and so our 8th grade graduation commencement speaker, because of Mr. Harris, was Johnny Cochran. And so, I've known Mr. Harris for some time, and I told him I'll always tell that story, but it's the work. So if you're about the work, folks are going to support you. Folks are going to know what you're about. It's not about words, it's about actions. And I think especially in Oakland, where we're dealing with a lot, our city is hurting and our city is in need of healing. They know that I'm about the work and I'm not about talk. And so during this time of healing, they know that I can get the job done and help our city heal.
Well said. Well, I'm going to just make an announcement about some resources, acknowledge our, network, and then Kevin, we're going to continue this wonderful interview, right? We want receipts, we want efforts. And I think as we talk about young voters, Doug, you always say, what is it about to vote? We want action. And so again, with that, I think there can be a resurgence of the voice. So all month in September on the show, we want to acknowledge the Affordable Connectivity Program, ACP. You may qualify for this national program depending solely on your income, or if you participate in programs such as EBT, SNAP, Medicaid, WIC, SSI, or any other qualifying programs, you may be eligible to receive $10 to $30 off of your internet bill, or receive free service on your current internet or phone bill. So what we want to do is just inform you of this service. We want to direct your attention to www.affordableconnectivity.gov or Google ACP program. Again, this is nationwide. And so we want to be sure to have you share with your family and friends that can benefit from the support. As well, we'd like to acknowledge Mr. Donnie Glover of BlackUSA.News. Listeners, be sure to tune in to our sister shows, Chap and Friends on Mondays, Party Marty Let's Talk on Tuesdays. We have the Black USA Crypto News with Cabal Hubbard on Fridays. We have the Blackout Live from New York with Tashmir. And on Sundays, we have 60 Minutes in Black USA with Michael Haney. And Michael, again, thank you. Saw you in the comments. Good evening. As well as to join our BBRT advertisement family or to be a possible guest on the show, you can reach us by email, bbrt2021@hotmail.com. In your email, please include the details of your company, as well as the website for vetting consideration. And then also another reminder for our California listeners, the Real ID deadline due to COVID was pushed out until May of 2023. If you haven't done so already, you can complete the application online and submit it by visiting dmv.ca.gov. Again, remember you will need this or a passport to board a plane, train, or visit federal buildings in the future. And for our younger listeners, please support your family members in completing that process. I did that with my Boominagers, which I lovingly call my parents, and there are just so many steps of technology. And so just help bridge the gate of access by supporting your family members. And now, back with our interview with Kevin Jenkins. Kevin, again, thank you for being here. Doug, would you like to start us off, or you want me to continue? How's your voice doing?
I think I'm coming back. I'm drinking this water, trying to get back. But Kevin, once again, audience, we need more of our young people out here leading the community, whether it be politically, as Dr. Ashley so eloquently does, in the mental health field. But we need young leaders like yourself, Kevin. And one of the questions I like to ask you is this. What is there any other information you would like to share with not only people who are going to vote for you and get you elected in, because I'm out there carrying a banner up and down the neighborhood and the community, but what could you say that will, and you're young, see, they don't usually listen to an old guy like me. What could you say that would encourage people to get involved politically? Thank you. I think the question was so powerful, it shut him down. Well, while he's gone, let me briefly say this. Dr. Ashley, we have so many issues out in Oakland right now that, and I alluded to it earlier in regards to the Alameda County Democratic Central Committee, that we don't have, oh, here he's coming back now. Let me get the thought out. We don't have enough young people participating in the political process, in the democracy. And that is why some of the, what would you call, endorsements are looking more like shenanigans, like a charade, like they're, if you're not in that clique, you don't get proper representation. And that's why it was important for me to have Kevin on, and he looked like he's coming backstage now. I want our audience to see that we have, there you go ahead. But we need our audience to see this young brothers like him getting involved and making a difference. Can we bring them back? Can we bring them on? Oh, there you go.
Sorry about that. A little connection issues.
No worries. No worries.
Oh, the question was, how can we encourage more young people like you to get out here and get involved? If they don't want to, how can they become political advocates and get involved in the community? What ignited you to go on this far and run for District 6 City Council person? Thank you.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I don't know, younger Black folks are welcomed in this space. I haven't necessarily felt the most welcome from my own folks in this space. And we have a generational divide, so we got to work on what those issues are with the generational divide. I don't know if it's, the boominagers, what you call them?
Yeah, I call, and that's lovingly because baby boomers, and I call them boominagers because it's almost like a re-coming to teenager. So I said boominagers, but yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know if they're ready to pass that mantle on to my generation.
Mm-hmm.
And so I kind of felt like through this process, I've gotten into so many spirited discussions with folks around Oakland and the new trajectory of Oakland. It feels like I'm having to pull that mantle from folks, as opposed to them saying, you know what, like, go ahead and run with it. But that's not to discount my supporters that are boominagers, right? Got plenty of those, but plenty of, who do you think you are? What do you think you're doing? Even for this race, I've had to grow a beard. So people think that I'm not as young as they normally would think as I am with a fresh cut. So we have to have a coming to Jesus moment with the generational divide, and let folks know that you're going to be in safe hands, that our community will be in safe hands, that we will continue to fight and having that spirit.
And I'll say this, it reminds me of that old guy who buys a Corvette so he'll look like that young guy going through that transition. And you are right, Kevin. These old guys do not want to pass the torch. They want to hold on to it. And then when they die, they can't pass that wisdom with it. And if you're listening, old people, and I'm one of them, start working with our young people like Kevin. We have a lot of leaders out there, but because it's like the system is clogged up with these old 60 or 70 and 80-year-old people who don't want to work and help develop. And we have some good leaders, but they would be better as wise counsel.
Yeah, and I have some pretty good wise counsel. Elihu is absolutely fabulous when it comes to wise counsel. He just wants to help the new generation, usher a new generation in. If elected, I'd be the first Black millennial on city council. So that means a new generation is coming. And I think for some folks, it means, we're in trouble, or do they have what it takes to take this baton and take us into the next generation?
What's interesting is that we seem to be gracious in discussing Father Time when it comes to athletes and sports. And yet I think Father Time impacts all fields. And wouldn't it be nice if some of our boominagers remembered that they prepared us for such a time as this? Right? And so you prepared us to take on, pass the baton, and now that we're ready, it's okay to get your flowers and transition.
Well, let me ask you this, Kevin. There seems you hear a little back. Okay, there it is. What differentiates you from the other three candidates running for Oakland City Council District 6? In other words, why should residents choose Kevin? You, in your own words, brother, let them have it.
Yeah, I think I'm the most prepared to lead the district from day one. Like I said, our city is in need of healing every day. Okay.
You cut out the last 30 seconds. Try that one more time because I want our audience to hear what you're saying.
Yeah, Oakland's in need of healing. Right? We need someone who's not coming to play games. We need somebody who's not coming and having a steep learning curve because they've never been in government, don't know how government works. And so I know how government works. I have a heart for the people. I have an ear to the issues, and I love Black people. I absolutely love Black people. Our city is bleeding Black folks. I think since 1980, we've lost 40 something percent of our Black population. Emergency to lose one more Black person. And so me, as someone who's experienced and ready to do the job, lead, and be successful on day one.
Doug, I just want to jump in to real quick, just ask the question about what, Kevin, what do you think are the top 3 issues for residents in District 6? And what are some of the solutions that you want to propose?
Yeah. So public safety is the biggest issue that we have right now. Second, neighborhood beautification. Because it is a Black district, it's been devoid of resources. And we have affluency and we have poverty in the same district. We have some $2 million homes, and we have income-based housing in the same district. But we need to really work on the neighborhood beautification. People think that it's okay to dump couches and mattresses all over the district. So that is a real challenge. And then we need economic development. With the neighborhood beautification, there's no major grocery store. We need walkable communities with small retail. I would love for coffee shops to open up, yoga studios, small gyms. Everything that folks would need in their community to be able to walk and make it a real vibrant community. So I think those are the 3 biggest issues that we have facing the district.
Gee, it sounds like you're talking about Montclair or Piedmont.
It sounds like Black homeowners should have those services.
What skills from your previous positions do you feel will help you the most if the people choose you to represent them and District 6? Thank you.
Yeah, so politics is a relationship game, and it's about relationship. It's about the art of give and take. It's about navigating through politics, making sure that you have allies, making sure that folks of your districts coalesce and come to consensus is what's going to be the biggest skill that I have. Getting folks to invest in this district is going to be imperative because for so long it's been underinvested. There's been a disinvestment from the city. So working with colleagues and coming there to get things done for the district is what voters are going to get if they choose to vote for me.
Dr. Ashley, please.
Yeah, sure. So Kevin, you've talked about your background, your family background in education. Also, you currently serve as the president of the California Association of Black School Educators. In addition, you're a member of the Office and Professional Employees International Union. So when we talk about educational opportunities for underrepresented students, also just can you kind of share too, knowing that you're the father of a son who will be growing up educationally, what's your passion as a Black father, envisioning the educational environment that you want for your son, as well as other students in Oakland?
Yeah, so public safety starts at our schools, right? So if we're closing down schools, if we're disinvesting from our schools, right, how are we going to have true public safety and economic development in our city? So I said about my parents working at Lockwood, I would run around there in the early 1990s, just running around on Saturdays. The schools look the exact same, right? And so we're not investing in our students and investing in educational opportunities. We're going to have a real challenge with the next generation. And that investment is wholehearted. We got to make sure that we have teachers that are actually staying there, because I don't know the data, but do we have those teachers that have been there for 30 years that know how to deal with students, that know how to deal with their parents because they taught their parents? We also got to make sure that there's opportunities after school for these students. And so I'm really passionate about making sure that Black students aren't continually getting the short end of the stick when it comes to education. So there was a, I don't know if it's EdSource or some article, the number one school in the state is right here in Oakland, California. So I'm like, yo, that's pretty dope. College preparatory school, 1-to-7 ratio with classrooms. And I was like, okay, this sounds good. How much is it?
Ooh.
Can you guys guess?
Yeah. Oh, it's up there. My pediatrician recommended my mom and I'm and my parents to consider enrolling me there, but they had dreams of actually sending me to college, and it was college tuition back in the 80s. But
Yep.
please let listeners know how much it is.
$51,000 a year.
Yes.
So I just want those same educational opportunities that kids at college prep have for kids in Oakland Unified to have. And so that's where my passion is.
I got to ask you this, Kevin. Michael Haney, one of my colleagues who does the 60 Minute in Black America, his question is, politics is a gangster game, a blood sport. He said, are you too nice to get in there?
What's his name, Michael?
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Tell Michael I'm from Oakland. I mean, I think that answers the question.
Hey, wait a minute. That's all you have to say. I'm from the town.
Exactly.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. And I say we. What? And I believe I may have asked you this. What differentiate? Yeah, I think I asked that question. Okay, go ahead, Dr. Ashley. I'm just so excited that
I know. No,
what you just said, that you from Oakland. You don't have to say anything else. When I travel anywhere in the country and I tell them I'm from Oakland, California, oh, you're from Oakland. Go ahead,
absolutely.
Dr.
So then, kind of along the lines of you being in a space and often finding yourself in spaces that you're not welcomed, but you take up that space and answer the call. Kind of a mental health question. How do you reset? How do you rejuvenate? How do you bounce back from the tough days of advocating for our people?
So mental health is paramount to doing this job because it will attack you and it will eat you away. And so I make sure that I get up every morning at 6:00 and I go to the gym. And so doing things in routine and finding time for myself is of the utmost importance, right? And so traveling, getting away from things, and then resetting. So it's not uncommon for me to take a trip to the beach by myself because California is really 5 states in one, and you could drive 30 minutes north, 30 minutes south, 30 minutes east, not 30 minutes west, but you can drive almost anywhere and find a different scenery or setting. And, I fell in love with nature during the pandemic. So that's how I keep myself sane.
Okay. And just a couple more questions too. A piggyback. You've mentioned repeatedly about the need for public safety, and that's starting in the school. And we know that for many residents of Oakland, there have been various levels of trauma. How do you foresee mental health playing a part in that repair or trauma work to kind of enhance the resilience of residents in District 6 and just beyond?
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to fathom what goes through a child's head when they're up at night because they heard gunshots, and then the teacher wants to know why they can't focus in school. It's hard to know what it's like going to bed hungry and not being able to focus in school because you're low on carbs. And so we really have to look at where we're putting our investments at. Right? Public safety is not just about police. It's not just about the heavy hand of the law. It's about investment. It's about after school program. It's about enrichment. It's about teaching kids things that they wouldn't necessarily have an opportunity for. It's about chess club, it's about robotics club, it's about glee club, and making sure that everyone has opportunities to these clubs and enriching activities so that they get the best shot when it comes to making it in life.
Okay, wonderful. And then final question, unless Doug wants to add on, is how can our listeners and the youth support your campaign?
JenkinsForOakland.com, JenkinsForOakland.com. We have about 38 days left till election. We're going to knock on doors. We're going to talk to voters. Our mailer has dropped. I'm going to people's door. I already know who you are. I'm voting for you, but we got to knock on every door.
Okay. And is that FOR? Is that the number 4?
FOR, JenkinsForOakland.com. Thank you guys so much for having me.
Thank you.
I wish you all the success in your campaign. I've already endorsed you. If you would like to send a flyer out with my endorsement, I don't know if that'll help or hurt, but you have some magnificent mentors and wise counsel people on your team. Both Mr. Harris's, because when you said Harris, audience, he was talking about Robert L. Harris and his daughter, Brittany Harris. But those men have been beacon in the community of Oakland, California for decades. So you are coming to the table of politics with wise counsel. Congratulations on your choices, and we wish you much success. And we welcome you back on the show after you win the campaign and just before, so we can let our audience know once again, we got a young brother out there and he's fired up and ready to go.
I truly look forward to coming back. Let's get that on the schedule, and thank you guys so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Kevin.
Dr. Ashley, do you see why? No matter how sick I was gonna. I know my eyes are a little bit droopy, but this audience, we need to be encouraging more young men and women to come out, and we need to have more of our wise people, older wise people, to motivate, encourage, direct counsel. The Honorable Elihu Harris, Mr. Robert L. Harris, John Burris, civil rights attorney, and many others. This young man has sought their counsel and is going to have them having these people who have been pillars in our community advise them. Dr. Ashley?
I just want to echo that, Doug. It was definitely refreshing, and we've had wonderful candidates on, but just to hear Kevin's passion again for Oakland and Oakland native, someone who has refreshing ideas and is taking action. And as he mentioned, is not always welcomed into the spaces where he's serving, but feels that call to serve and is maximizing those opportunities to do so.
And I think, Dr. Ashley, in my fogginess, we may have missed our mental words, our mental health therapy today. Do you have any words for us today?
No, you're not. Nope, you're on. I spoke a little bit. I think,
okay.
I think one of the things that comes to mind, and this has been a week, and last week it's been a week too, we've talked about stress management. My words of wisdom that I'm actually applying to myself is take a break, don't quit, just adjust, right? So sometimes when we're hitting a wall and we're wanting to push through, that's good, but taking a break actually can help us with the long-term journey. So take a break, pause, get your second, third, fourth wind, adjust, and come back.
Well, I think we have Mr. Trent Willis is going to be coming on pretty soon. We had him coming on at 5:15, and he may be running a little bit late. So I'm going to go back and did I miss anything from earlier? I want to make sure we got everybody covered here today about the news of the day, Dr. Ashley.
Yeah, no, I took care of that.
Well, you see,
I
go ahead.
I'll do the political highlights, but I also probably think when we get Trent on, and try to get him on, but also it's going to probably be a shortened show, Doug, because I'm gonna put you on the spot. You're a fighter for us. You're a fighter for us. You're a fighter for our people, and you too push through so that you could be present for Kevin, which I appreciate, and just show up for our listeners, and that shows how much you value the platform and the opportunity to share. And I'm going to sound like an old Southern woman. I'm not going to have you falling out on us. So we're going to do the political highlights. I'm going to tell our producer to try to get Trent on earlier, and we're going to shorten the show because, okay. So let me I'm taking, usually play a little basketball, not as good as I want it to be. But you're not going to be a combo guard. And sometimes I shoot and I can, delegate, but not, I'm going to be a shooting first point guard. I'm going to be Chris Paul.
Thank you. You are a breath of fresh air and a cold glass of water on a hot day. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. Teammates, teamwork. So we have the national political highlights. We have holding steady Reverend Warnock against Herschel Walker, whom does not seem to want to debate Reverend Warnock. And I wouldn't want to debate him either. But, here we go. Then we also have in Georgia, #perjury Taylor Greene didn't vote to codify interracial or gay marriage. And she's been in the news, I know, also for some personal reasons regarding marriage. And her opponent, Mr. Marcus Flowers, has an interracial family, which is interesting. So get out. We just want to vote. Again, our democracy depends on it. Congratulations to our Georgia candidate. Again, our friend of the show, Marcus Flowers, Senator Raphael Warnock, Stacey Abrams, to follow her, #OneGeorgia. And also we have our Florida candidate, Val Demings, who I saw on a network recently and got to check out an interview of hers. And so check out our Georgia candidates, check out our Florida candidates. These are the ways that you can follow them. So for Marcus, there's the Instagram handle is @Marcus4Georgia. And then he also has a website, marcusforgeorgia.com. He's also using the hashtag #SendCongressFlowers. We love that. To follow Senator Raphael Warnock, his handle is @RaphaelWarnock or www.warnockforgeorgia.com or #WarnockForSenate. To follow Stacey Abrams, Instagram handle @StaceyAbrams or StaceyAbrams.com, #StaceyAbrams. And finally, @Val Demings or ValDemings.com, also #Val Demings. So we have less than 2 months. I think we're right around maybe 6 weeks, or less around there for voting. So time is of the essence. Do your due diligence and research, and please step out and vote. Duh.
And our producer definitely don't want us to forget about Carlton. Carlton is sitting in prison right now for defending his business, his patrons, and his employees. Now, without getting too deep in the case, we have got to keep this man on our mind because North Carolina, and we're on the East Coast. We're on the West Coast, Oakland, California. But this story came across my desk. And my producer and Dr. Ashley and we have talked about this numerous times. And Dr. Ashley, can you give a plug out to, my eyes are a little bad today, but he's close to the end. But give a strong plug out for this young African-American man who owns his own, well, before he had to defend his business, he owned his own business, who's waiting in jail, been sentenced to life imprisonment because a man was going to go to his car and and they found the gun in the car. So go ahead, Dr. Ashley, please. Thank you.
Sure. So we have the hashtag Stand with Carlton of Raleigh, NC 2022. Also, we talked about this case again on our show, which we can put up as well. But he received a life sentence after sitting in jail for almost 3 years this September. And I really want to invite our listeners so we can, include the date of that show where we went in depth. But if you'd like to send messages of encouragement to Carlton by email, you can email us at bbrt2021@hotmail.com, and we'll be happy to forward those over. But that case, in addition to driving while Black in Taylor County, Texas, again with Michael Thrash as well. We had him on the show October 14th, 2021, and also had a high kind of update show with him. And it's about time for us to check in to see if they're still stalling on the cases and having Michael and his attorney drive hours only to have them not receive their day in court. But for our listeners, as always, we'd like to invite you to do your research to inform your opinion and to determine whether or not you want to support. But the hashtag is driving while Black, Michael Thrash, Taylor County, TX. And we know one of the wonderful things about social media is it can bring attention, and there's strength in numbers.
Well, audience, let me just be clear. Let me be clear here. If Carlton were a white man under the exact same circumstances, he would still be a free man. And I don't want to go into detail because from my understanding, they've hired an appeals lawyer. And thank you, audience, those who donated to this young man, successful Black entrepreneur. Keep your eye on this because we have a society that if a Black man defends himself, you got one dead and they put the other in prison. But if you have the same criteria in other nationalities, white, I don't think the outcome would have been the same, Dr. Ashley. So here on the Black Business Roundtable, we look at the psychological effect that has on our young people because they're damned if they do and they're damned if they don't. Now, and just being a devil's advocate, what if Carlton did not have a license to carry the weapon and the man would have came in there and shot up the place and killed Carlton and some of his patrons? So we need to really look at these laws and how they're not being fairly adjudicated in court. The biggest thing we have here right now is we need you to start, and young people, this goes to you. We need you to start going to city council, going to school board meeting, registering people to vote, and stop listening to the politicians, not what they're saying. And earlier on the show, I just had a thumbs down regarding appoint a governor-appointed state attorney and his wife, who in their own city of Alameda could not win the vote. They're from Alameda, and they lost the vote in Alameda, but they were able to convince people who did not live where they live that they were good people and going to be good politicians. But the Alameda County Democratic Central Committee has definitely their handprint on that does not fall on the side of fairness. But to that end, we got to get you involved. And some of you older people out there, you may not have to fully let go of the baton, but loosen up your grip a little bit so we can hand it to some of these young people. They're more energetic. And a lot of them really want to learn, but they're getting frustrated with some of our older generation not wanting to embrace their enthusiasm to participate in the political process. Did I say that well, Doctor? I've been working on that. Did I say that? Okay, have Trent been able? Have we been able to pick up Trent? If not, I would like to talk. Oh, there's my man. I won't say it. You know I'm thinking it though. You know I'm thinking about it, Dr. Ashley. How you doing, Trent?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. Audience, I'd like to say while Trent's on here today, I've asked Trent, Dr. Ashley and I both, we're asking Trent to come on a couple times during the month. We know he's a busy man out there making a difference with the different organizations, but come on to this show and articulate and educate, not here in Oakland, not in the county, not just in the state of California, and not just in the United States, but globally, the great things that he's doing to empower our people in good union paying job. And we're going to call it Trent's Corner.
Well, right on. I appreciate it. And once again, I want to thank all of you for giving not only me, but the ILWU, the organization that I represent, a voice on your show to talk to your audience. So thank you very much for that. And so we're in Trent's Corner, huh?
Mm-hmm. I'm putting it on mute because Doug talked too much. I'm putting mine on mute, Dr. Ashley.
Well, since we're in Trent's Corner, and I'll tell you what's going on in Trent's Corner today. We're currently meaning the International Longshore Warehouse Union here on the West Coast is currently in contract negotiations with the Pacific Maritime Association. I know that a lot of your audience might have seen some smidgets of that on the news and maybe heard a little bit about that. The negotiations are always pretty serious. Right now, I'm not at liberty to give details about our negotiations. But our contract expired in July, so it is now almost October. So that kind of can give you a picture, of what's happening. And I also can't report to the audience that we're anywhere close to an agreement. Okay, unfortunately. So I'll give further updates on that as far as things that are going on here in the Bay Area. As far as I'm concerned, that's been taking up the majority of my time. I'm still involved with SLAP, that's Schools and Labor Against Privatization, because we're still in the fight of our lives, this generation, with trying to prevent the robbery, of resources, for the people. I mean, there's a battle for resources going on. Even you can look at the news today, and you hear elected representatives talking about corporate welfare. That's what that is. That's it. It's very simple. What this capitalist system is telling us is that it's okay to funnel public money to billionaires and corporations. But then when it comes time to funnel money or resources to the everyday man and woman, especially the everyday Black man and woman, it becomes a problem. And this is why this country is always in conflict. And, when you add all of the other divisive things that you see happening on television, when you talk about racism, sexism, talk about identity politics and all of these different disputes we have. As people, I mean, you just get a chaotic situation.
Let me ask you something, Trent. Explain to our audience what the acronym of SLAP is, and how you, being one of the founders or the co-founders of this organization, and why is it so important to get involved with SLAP, become a member, and develop that, just like they have the unions, this could be a very powerful tool, political tool, because I hear you guys are working on certain PAC or documentation so that you guys can become a viable entity in holding these politicians accountable of voting their butts out. Thank you, sir.
Right. It's about some of what you said, but it's mostly about getting people to understand that the divisions we have between us, those divisions have been calculated and put there to devalue our labor. That includes white people. Okay. The role white people play in the equation is almost the same as what Black people would call in slavery a Stephen. Okay, they're the overseers. They get fed a certain amount to make them believe that they're better, which that helps the what am I trying to say here? That keeps the
I know what you're trying to say, but I don't want to say it.
Right. It keeps. I'm trying to choose my words carefully here, but that scenario that I just talked about is one of the formulas used to misuse capitalism. Okay, we want people to believe or to know that we have more in common as far as workers than we have differences, and these things that are injected into society to divide us, they are illusions. Okay. And when I say that about, I said white people, I'm not talking about all white people. I'm talking about white people that believe in white privilege. That's what white privilege is. Okay. And that's why the fight against white privilege is actually the fight against the great deception that a lot of white folks who believe in white privilege have let themselves succumb to. You are actually supporting the system that is impoverishing people by, falling for, I have white privilege, right? And we can talk about that in context of any race, really, because we have Black folks who think they have white privilege. We have, there are so many things we can talk about, that divide us, but we can talk more simply about things that unite us, right? So the fight for higher wages and better working conditions and, just an all-out better way of life is really important for Black people, as a whole. And it should be important for all people. Okay. And the only way to really get it, which the Black Panthers seem to be the ones who only the really ones that got it, Fred Hampton and all of those cats seem to be the only one that got it, because they understood that uniting everybody was accomplishing that goal. You can't have, even though it was called the Black Panthers, it had plenty of membership from other races, which if you saw the movie about Fred Hampton, you would see that he was able to organize, people from many different backgrounds and races. So that's what SLAP is about. It's about workers.
It was at schools and labor against privatization.
Right. And the thing that united the teachers and the ILWU was the fight against the Oakland A Stadium and the Fisher family in Oakland, California. And also the fight against KIPP schools, privatizing the public schools in Oakland. So that's what united us. But what we've learned since uniting around that issue is that it's happening all over the country. And
Did you hear about the incident that happened in San Jose? One of KIP and security people or employees was just arrested for harassing, and from my understanding, and I'll follow up next week, but one of the employees was arrested for calling a 13-year-old girl, and her dad saw the telephone number and reported it to authority. And then the second part of this is that moving off that real quick, is that if the ILWU Local 10 in Oakland had 74 to 80% white membership, do you in your deepest part of your heart think that they would stand for what's going on, or they would be able to negotiate better? Because, go ahead.
Oh, my absolute honest opinion is no.
Okay.
The employers, even the situation we have right now, I'm not going to start off my Trent's Corner with your audience, not telling them the facts. Okay. We have a local here in the Bay Area that is almost 75% African American. Okay. And then the very vast makeup of the rest of the portion is almost all minority. Okay. So it is probably 90% Black and brown people on the waterfront in the Bay Area. Okay. And then there's probably 10% Caucasian, which is a lot of people. Okay. We have, I don't want to down count the amount of white longshore ILWU members we have in the Bay Area, but it's just overwhelmingly minority. Okay. And the employers treat us much different than the other areas, particularly up north and down south. We get treated much different in all aspects of the relationship between the employers, even when it comes to disciplinary action and labor relations. Just from being a union official and being there 26 years, I've seen the difference. Overwhelmed, there's no way you can not tell that the treatment in the Bay Area is different.
Well, they're not over there bullying the labor's union. They're not over there bullying the carpenters union. They're not over there bullying the operating engineers union, which are predominantly white. So my point here is, they being the powers that be, and I'm going to use this as this example. Mayor Libby Schaaf, she is running to Washington, D.C. to get $500 million to build a Disneyland park and some high-end $1 million condos for one rich white man. But you have a group of Black investors, and you may have heard of them, the African American Sports and Entertainment Group. A good friend of mine and friend of the show, Ray Bobby, she won't even mention his name. Do you wonder why that is?
No, I don't have to wonder why that is, because I know why that is. I'm sure that the majority of your audience knows why that is. And I'm not the kind of person that ever bites my tongue. So I'll just say what it is. She went to represent who she was representing. That's just not who she's supposed to be representing. When you go to the government to get welfare for people, okay, welfare is for poor people. It's not for rich people. Okay, so your elected representatives are not supposed to go to Washington, D.C. and advocate for the people that don't need the representation. She's supposed to go and represent the people who elected her and the people of her city, right? So you got homeless people laying all over the sidewalks in her city. Okay, most of those people are Black and brown people. Okay. Don't you think $500 million can help them out quite a bit?
Trip.
Does John Fisher or the Fisher family need $500 billion? $1 million? No. See, it's very simple. So when I'm talking to people, I just put it there. You just put it there. Like who is she representing? That don't even sound right for her to go advocate for some money that's intended to pay for something so that a billionaire doesn't have to spend his own money to do it. That's corporate welfare. That's what that is.
So as we close this out, as we're getting closer, but let's put it in simplicity. And Trent, that's why Trent's Corner is going to be popping as we keep moving down into our second year. If we look at it, the Fisher family is maybe 5 votes, maybe. The people who voted her in are tens of thousands of people. So, audience, I want you to remember this when election time comes. Mayor Libby Schaaf is backing a couple of people who's running for mayor. And I want you to remember, if you get the person or the persons who she's backing, you're going to get the same type of leadership that has devastated the economy, that is destroying the city, and the racism and gentrification that is moving Black people out of the city of Oakland. And on that note, Trent's Corner, we welcome you back. You give us your schedule, and we love. Keep it real, brother. Assalamu alaikum.
All right. Alaikum salam. All right. I'll see you guys next time.
Okay. Thank you, Trent.
Yeah, and I just wanted to for your audience to know that we are online. slapbayarea.org is the website, and also please support the International Longshore and Warehouse Union in our coastwide negotiations. We are one of the few strong unions still around here. This country has had a long history of attacking unionism and organizing. That's why the percentages of unions in this country is really low. But that is starting to turn around. Okay, with the emergence of Starbucks workers, we had the Amazon workers in New York. We got the gig workers are starting to fire themselves back up again. So when there's some restaurant workers, so people are starting to understand how important it is to connect together and demand a decent way of living, from those who pay us for our labor. And I just want your audience to know to always support, never cross picket lines, and support working people, because when you do that, you are supporting yourself.
And you heard it from the immediate past president of the International Longshore and Warehouse Workers Union, Local 10 President, Mr. Trent Willis. Thank you for coming on the show. And please, when you're ready to come back, we want you back. And second, we have hooked up with some people on the East Coast who are having the same exact problem. So what we're going to do is we're going to start uniting, because if you have the same problems on coast to coast, if we pool our resources together, we can start getting rid of some of these politicians who are making a few people rich and the masses poor. Thank you, Mr. Trump.
Well, and not only see, the thing is not to concentrate on getting rid of them. The thing is to make them do what you tell them to do. And they have to know that you have power in order to do that. Right now, the billionaires have the power. We need to organize and take it. They'll do what we tell them. We get enough power, they'll do what we tell them. And then if they don't do what we tell them, then they got to go.
Bye-bye, Libby. See you next trip. All right. Thanks, Trent. Talk to you soon, brother.
Peace to you all.
Thank you.
Dr. Ashley, can you close us out? Because I have been on one up and down roller coaster today. And audience, let me be clear here. My doctor of psychology, our doctor of psychology, Dr. Ashley Coleman, has been dragging me along all show today, but with Kevin Jenkins, candidate, young brother from Oakland. And I like what Michael Haney say, you got to be a gangster to go. and he had one line, I'm from Oakland, and that's all you got to say. Dr. Ashley, can you carry us on into home, please? Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Again, thank you, Mr. Donnie Glover of blackusa.news. Listeners, we have wonderful shows. There's Chap and Friends on Mondays, Titillating Tuesdays with Stacey Dennis, and Party Marty Let's Talk on Tuesdays. Black USA Crypto News with Kamal Hubbard on Fridays. The Blackout Live from New York with Tashmir on Saturdays, and on Sundays, 60 Minutes in Black USA with Michael Haney. We also have a network of shows hosted by Mr. Donnie Glover. So it's blackusa.news morning show, the Donnie Glover morning show, People Over Politics, Political Cipher, Date 'em All, Sis. I checked that one out. That was a lot of funny tips for that one. Community Connections, Resources and Gardening, the Robert Report, Shared Space, Frontline News, and the Troy Rawlings Show. Listeners, check out, and the Beverly Smith Show as well. So stay tuned as more shows are added. And again, thank you, listeners, for joining us today. We return next week, October 6, 2022. Our guests include part 1 of our East Coast, West Coast political collaboration with our blackusa.news sister podcaster, Quandra Gaines. I'm really excited about that. And we look forward to seeing you every Thursday at 4 p.m. Pacific time on blackusa.news network on YouTube and Facebook. And thank you, audience, for tuning in. And remember, together we can listen, learn, and share, because I know you care. This is Dr. Ashley and Doug Blacksher of the Black Business Roundtable. God bless, good night, and be well.